Oh, yay. Okay, y'all. Okay. Unplug my mic. He said sodas were cold before, not hot. Told him I never had a wrong. What's up? How y'all doing? Hope y'all having a beautiful, fantastic. What's today? Today Thursday. Today feels like for some reason today feels like a Friday to me. You know what I mean? Today feels like a Friday. Italiana, what's going on, girl? How you been doing? I ain't seen you. I feel like I ain't seen you in forever. I feel like I ain't seen you on here forever. Susanna, who opted out? Must be your settings. I don't see guest requests. Oh my goodness gracious. Hold on. Admin settings, comment settings. Yeah, I don't see that. How did you do that, Ben? How did you set that up? I see topics. I see that. Hold on. I can invite people to go live, but I can't. I saw it earlier. Add guests. Add up to 2 guests. Okay. I think I just turned Ben. I think I just turned it on, Ben. I think I just turned it on. Is Heather not in here? I thought I saw her in here.
I don't think she got in first. Let me see.
Yeah.
Where did you go to set that up? Because
I had to
I
turn it on in the
glanced at it and I
settings.
didn't. Okay. In the
Yeah.
settings of the live?
Yeah, it's just like the
Okay.
little infinity sign or whatever is at the bottom. You have to click that and it allows you to
Oh,
do
gotcha,
it.
gotcha.
But she says, "What's going on, though, man? Jamal, what's going on, man? Appreciate the goggles. Hey, man, praying for your wife, man. I saw your wife was I saw you. I've been following your story about your wife, Jamal. That's big time. Can you see the comments, though, Ben? Can you see the comments on here?
Yeah, I can see him.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm doing well. Everybody, hope y'all doing great. Kansas City, what's up? So if y'all don't know Ben Taylor is another self-aware narcissist. Oh shit, big ass mosquito in here. I was split level house. So yeah, if y'all don't follow Ben, y'all check Ben's page. Ben has some good stuff too. It's not quite mental illness, but it's coming up. I'm just joking with you.
There you
Okay,
go. Looks like Heather just requested
yeah,
too.
Holly, what's going on?
Weird. I can see the request. That's kind of odd, but I can't accept it. Huh.
Yeah,
It's Ben Taylor
hey, what's
Welch.
up? So yeah,
Hey,
That's
we
hilarious.
have a
Now,
triple live. So yeah, here you
there
go.
we go.
So yeah,
here I am.
this is. I'm gonna let you. I'll let y'all introduce yourselves. So this is Heather up top, and this is Ben down low. Heather is like a life coach, superstar on here. I love her stuff. Ben got some good stuff.
Oh,
Ben is
thanks.
also another self-aware narcissist in therapy. Working. Where did Ben go? He disappeared. He'll be back.
He got scared. No, I'm just kidding.
He got back. Oh, there she is. But I'm sure he'll be back. Probably his phone probably died or something like that. But yeah, I'm trying to upload my I'm running behind today. I had to do my YouTube and all the other stuff. So I'm trying to upload that right now and right in the moment. So that is the goal right now. So
That's the goal.
tell us about yourself, Heather. Like tell me about you. I don't think I even know your story. I be tuning in your lives sometimes. You know what I mean?
I know.
I be peeking in your lives and stuff like that. I was going to your Facebook the other day. I was like, let me get to the point.
Uh-oh. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
There we go. I'm back.
yeah.
So you were saying you were stalking my Facebook,
No, I
or
was just I was just I was
just
just, I was
kidding.
just, I was just, peek, I was just picking your Facebook out when you added me the other day. I'm like, hey,
I mean,
because
that's what a nerd does.
because I
Is
don't know.
stalk you.
I just
So,
feel like TikTok and Facebook are two so totally different worlds. I just feel like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like TikTok is just a separate universe than Facebook. I feel like it's kind of like you ever seen the movie? You ever seen Thor? The Thor movies? It's kind of
yeah,
Yeah.
Asgard and Earth and stuff like that.
it's like a whole other world.
That's how I feel like.
Well, I'm a lot more mouthy on Facebook politically and stuff like that
Uh,
than I am here. So, but yeah, so I'm actually probably about 70% of my work. I'm a career coach, so I help people make career transitions. Get through toxic workplace recovery, all that, and then the other 30% is life coaching, helping people get through an exit strategy. Get through the NPD kind of abuse they've been going through, and helping them to move on. And sometimes those two things coincide. So
yeah, I can imagine that. And then you are also a survivor of a not just narcissistic abuse, like sociopathic narcissistic. Yeah, your story is wild. I was like, so you are one of the few that got out of here. You know what I mean? You got out, and tell them about your escape plan. I think your escape is like super. It was a good story.
Oh, well, first of all, I'm glad you said that, the sociopathic tendencies, because it definitely was way over the top, right? But what I had to do, I had an 18-month exit strategy. I was really supposed to put it in place earlier, but I had a knee injury, required 2 back-to-back surgeries that took me out for almost a year. So, I mean, I was still working, but I was kind of remote and I was in tons of pain and all that. And he was zero help, like not even zero help, like purposefully doing things for other people and not for me kind of situation. So, when I got through that, I got my own therapist and I was like, girl, this is my present to me. You are going to be the key to me to figure this out, how to do this the right way and get out and, all that. And, yeah, so I ended up getting my house about 4 months before I left. So for 4 months, I knew I was leaving. And for about 3 weeks, my daughter and I were setting up my house. I am fortunate that I was able to take my money out of our shared account and just pay my half of the bills. And so I set up my own account. I got myself off of all his credit cards. I opened up all my own on my, I changed all my passwords. I was doing all this stuff. And because he was so inactive in those ways, he didn't even notice it. That I, was taking, because I was the one responsible for paying all the bills. So, he didn't know. And, yeah. So, and then I got like, I don't know, Wayfair and stuff like that. I started having furniture delivered. My daughter and I were setting up the house. I was saying I was going to meetings or teaching a class, and we were going to IKEA and buying everything. So I had to start off from scratch. And unfortunately, that did cause me to start off in a debt situation, but it was worth it. Yeah. Because I had to buy everything down to spoons and, anything you can think of in your house, I had to start all the way from scratch. And so the day that I moved in, I had a whole bunch of my friends come by. They brought their husbands. I already knew what I wanted to bring that was mine, but I couldn't pack any of it. So I kind of strategically was placing things around the house that he wouldn't notice. And they all came in with boxes and bins and scooped me up, and we moved into my house, and it took about 90 minutes. So,
damn. See, y'all hear that escape plan right there? That is a legit escape plan.
And I also had him served with the PPO the next day.
He couldn't even try to follow you. Damn.
No, he emailed me about 11, 12 times, because he was blocked on everything but that one email. And we were only allowing that to get evidence of further abuse.
Yeah.
And so then once he was served with the PPO, then that was it. So, and the judge gave it to me without a hearing because because of how severe the abuse was. So
goodness gracious, eh? Yeah, y'all hear that very, very specific survivor story. Goodness gracious, like she put a plan in. You said 18 months.
Yeah, because I knew that I needed some therapy to break the trauma bond. Like I had done years of research, but it was just like we had a blended family at the time, and I was so worried about the kids going through another divorce that I actually ended up staying longer, and it wasn't good for my daughter either. Unfortunately, if I had known that, I would have done it years earlier.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. She said, were any of your abuse experiences physical?
Well, he was starting to ramp up. So small things like accidentally pushing me as he went through a doorway, or accidentally smashing my finger with a cutting board. Like, I don't know why you need to pick up a cutting board and slam it down on a counter, and then he would always block me from rooms, tower over me, scream in my face, try. So I could see that it was starting, because he had absolutely lost control of me. I was gray rock for almost a whole year, but he's dangerous. So, yeah. I if I could have gotten out earlier in the same way, I would. And I didn't love being in gray rock that long, but I knew what I was doing. I had done enough research. I knew that I wasn't going to stay that way, that it was just specific to him in this situation. And then on the side, I was ramping up my own business and adding more classes and doing more things so I could get more money put away. So I wasn't home a lot. And so I was like, dude, I was focused on this. This was going to happen no matter what. I was getting out. So Sometimes it takes longer, unfortunately. But on the plus side of that is any grief that I went through inside the relationship. So when I came out of it, I was dancing all around this house. I was, thrilled. I mean, playing music, like it was awesome. So
That's good. Like that's a very very good story. But I like he said it was amping up because that's how it starts. Though it starts just like plucks, pinches, little. It just starts little stuff, and then it escalates to like oh, you just hit me. You deserved it.
hmm
You'd be surprised how many people I talk to. Well, I don't think you'd be surprised, but how many people I talk to that actually sympathize with getting punched right in their face. It's like he punched me, and then he started crying, so I felt sorry for him. I'm like, in my mind, it's hard to process that. I'm like, what? Like he's like, yeah, he hit me, then he started crying, so I knew he felt sorry for her, and then whatever. And I just tell people, I'm like, no, I think he felt sorry because he knew he was gonna get in trouble if he didn't, switch the dynamic onto you. Like you start crying
hmm
for him, you start sympathizing with him, like put ice on his fist after he punched her in the face. I was just like no ice for her face, but here's some ice for your fist,
Right.
baby. I was like, and one of the most powerful stories that I've heard so far, outside of yours, everybody's story is powerful in their own way. But as a woman, I'm always duetting her videos and stuff like that. She's always commenting on my stuff. Her name escapes me right now. She would kill me if she saw me forgetting her name right now. I got so many names. What is her name?
Well,
Dang it. She go, don't, okay, what is that hell name? My mom, I literally just went blank just now. I've had a very, very long day. It's going to bug me.
And you can't look it up either. That's what happened. I got kicked off the live earlier. I went to TikTok on the computer and it kicked me off.
Put my phone up. I can't put my phone up. She would get me though. She would literally get me. But like her story is like extremely, extremely powerful though, because she, when I first talked to her, like she was in the car or whatever, and we just talked. Her name is Amanda. Found it. I have two phones. But her name was Amanda, right? And she told me this story. It's like a deep, deep story. She's like, her story is like she's had one of the craziest stories I heard of because she got married to this dude when she was younger. They got like he started being physically abusive to her like 2 years in, and she left him. She like we got divorced. I signed the paper in front of a notary, gave him the paperwork, left, didn't hear anything from him for like 10 years. She like the next time she heard from him, she was about to get married to somebody else, and I think she got arrested or she
of
found
course.
she about to get arrested. She was getting married to somebody else, and the police came looking for her for a bigamy charge. Like they said she was trying to get married twice because she was still married. The dude didn't file the paperwork to divorce her. Like so she was still legally married. So he hoovered her like that by not filing divorce papers 12 years earlier. So he got back into her life. They ended up getting back together, and he ended up almost like killing her, like literally. She was like he was on top of her like in a hotel room, just like pretty much beating her senseless. And she's like she thought she was gonna die. So she started praying and she started begging him to get off of him, but then she said she gave up. And then appreciate the shade, y'all. She said she just gave up.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. She said she just gave up and she started praying. She's ready to go to the other. She was ready to transition. She's like, but he stopped.
Oh my gosh.
All of a sudden he had just stopped, right? And then she's like, I got up. And she started crying. She's like, the first thing I did when I got up, I was like, my logical mind, like, I hope you ran the hell up out of there. She was like, I got up and hugged him and kissed him and thanked him.
Yeah, I knew it.
And thanked him for not killing me. And I was like, what? And then she's like, somebody called the police. One of the people in the neighboring hotel room called the police. And the police came to arrest him. And she was fighting the police. And she was like, don't take my husband. Don't take my husband. She was fighting the police.
Well, it's a lot like Stockholm syndrome, I think, when it gets to that point,
Yeah.
Definitely.
It was a wild story though. When she said, I was like, oh my goodness. But she ended up having to go to court and testify against him and whatnot. And she was messaging me. I think the thing that connected me to her the most was that like she was talking about how loving and caring she was. She's like, I'm just a loving, caring. I'm an empath and I'm a Cancer. I was like, when is your birthday? And she was like, July 14th. I was like, well, guess what my birthday is? And I was like, so what? I like July 14th. So it's just like my little birthday twin, So I think we connected on that as well. And she ended up having to go like stand in front of the courtroom and testify against him and get him locked up. But she was having that this is how psycho this dude was. This dude was like he had a restraining order, like 50 foot, 100 foot or whatever. This dude went to her house and like measured a radius and like pretty much drew a circle, a 50-foot circle around her house. It was standing outside her house, like parked outside the circle.
Wow. See, so to me, that's like sociopath behavior, right?
Yeah. Super scary. I was like, people are crazy. I'm like, I'm a narcissist, but I'm like, I wouldn't do nothing like that. I'm like, Jesus. You know?
Well, that's why, like, sometimes, I don't know, like, on one of like your videos, or I will just say this, but, like, they will literally track you down on OneDrive, if you have OneDrive, because if you have it on all your locations, or, like, your printer, if it's a Bluetooth printer, and, like, they and their kids or whatever have that hooked up, they can find you. Venmo, I had found out I had to block them on Venmo. And it took forever to block them on Google. I had to keep muting. But by the way, if Google makes it hard, mute it and spam over and over again until they finally stop coming into your spam folder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I've done, like, I'm doing the one-on-ones. I've done so many of these one-on-ones with people. I've heard so many different stories, and it's like crazy. It literally is. I'm just like, the world is like, wow. Because, you know, even though I'll be telling people I have narcissistic personality disorder, but I'm just like, you know, I'm a vanilla narcissist. I mean, I have like little sociopathic traits and stuff like that. I'm just like, I wouldn't do no physical. Like a dude, I'll fight a dude. I'll get violent against a dude. But like the women, because I was just raised by mostly all women anyway, so I have a different respect for women. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Then I have a daughter too, so I'm just like, I'll be just looking at her, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to fight a narcissist one day. You know, I'm just looking at her like she's just bouncing on my lap. I'm like, I'm gonna have to fight a damn narcissist. I'm just like.
No, because she's gonna have boundaries, right? Because Ben has a little girl too. You both are gonna have to, like. Yeah. So, but can I ask Ben? Do you feel the same way, like as Lee does? Are you already thinking about how to help your little one with boundaries and with self-love and self-respect and those kind of things? Because people like me that were raised by narcissists and sociopaths, we were not taught any of that. That's how we get in these relationships. So do you guys think about that?
I think about it all the
time. I think for me especially, it is really like a thing to think about of like, how am I going to be reacting to her? Like, what am I going to be portraying and saying to her? And so like, I have a really good example because like I can watch my wife interact with her and I can see like how she interacts and how she like models that correct behavior towards her. And so being able to learn that, see that, and like I said before, I think last week, like learning to like model that where I can actually come up to our daughter and like try to get down on her level, try to connect with some type of empathy, even if I don't like feel it. I know that, hey, like this is what she needs to be able to be seen and to be heard and to feel safe. And those are important in her emotional development.
So Lisa, I don't know if y'all, Ben had left earlier. So Ben is if y'all want to follow Ben or Heather, Ben is another self-aware narcissist on here, getting started on TikTok or whatever, telling his story. His wife is also on here, telling her stories. Like, your wife be tagging me all the time. I was like, who's tagging me in this stuff? Like, I've been getting tagged.
Yeah, she loves your content.
Who do I have to defend myself against today? I'm just like, because I get wild comments like every single day. You know what I mean?
I bet.
Yeah, like literally every day, like from all, I'm on like from all angles, like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I get my Facebook message, my Facebook page. I'm like, it's like, goodness gracious. Right. It's like, it does kind of get overwhelming sometimes, just being the self-aware narcissist, and people automatically villainize me and think I'm a bad person because of that, because I had a video go viral one time and people were duetting it. And the first thing out their mouth was like, I want to dislike this guy. And I was just like, that's the stigma that I'm trying to push against right there. It's like, why do you want to dislike me? Because I'm open about my personality disorder. Like, I can't help this disorder. I was just like, I can help how I treat you. I mean, I refuse to believe that you can't help how you treat somebody, but I'm just like, I can't help the disorder. And when I see people asking, it's like Ben right here up top, right here, he is another, self-aware narcissist on TikTok telling his story. Like Ben Taylor right here. Tell me your story real quick, man. I gotta get my charger for my phone. Like, y'all tell your story real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah. So like growing up, I grew up kind of traveling all over the place. My dad was an evangelist, and so as a result, like we moved like 40, 45 churches a year, and I didn't really develop good friendships and good like relationships and how those are supposed to progress. And so as I continued through life, those narcissistic tendencies started coming out more and more until I finally got married. And after I got married, that's when those narcissistic tendencies like skyrocketed and became a living hell for both of us as we were married.
Hey, sorry, you're crackling a little bit. It's just a little hard to hear you.
Okay, good. It might be the AirPods. They've been
That's way better.
A little bit. Okay. But yeah, so then after marriage, like we really struggled a lot. Like I struggled a ton with narcissism and how I was treating my wife, things like that, and got to the place where I started stepping out on my marriage, had multiple affairs, and really just took my marriage and like burned it to the ground. And went through a period of time that we were separated. Like we're still working through stuff. We're still we're going to individual therapy right now. We're trying to start up some couples therapy as well. But just trying to be able to work through some of that. So yeah, it's probably about, I don't know, like nine months to a year ago when like narcissism finally came on my horizon of what it is and things like that. And at first I just flat out denied it. I went to other people, went to my affair partners at that time and had them like justify to me that I wasn't a narcissist, and went back to my wife and it's like, hey, prove you wrong, I'm not a narcissist. And then I started looking into it and I got involved with a girl who was a narcissist, had BPD, and started gaslighting her. She started gaslighting, and it really started showing me who I was. And because of that, because of a couple other things in my life, I started realizing like, hey, I'm struggling with narcissism majorly. I need to get help. And once I admitted that, probably took another 3 months before I actually even got into therapy, because I didn't want to admit it, no matter what. But yeah, that's a little bit of my story.
So Mimi is asking me about narcissistic fleas. So I know that I literally had a client asking me about this earlier today. So he works in a really toxic workplace. Sounds like absolutely works with a pretty high up there on the spectrum narcissist. And this guy, his boss, is always shouting and screaming at everybody and always like trying to intimidate them and all that kind of stuff. And so he said he found himself doing the same kind of thing, like reacting in anger and getting like ready to scream and stuff like that. I know for it hits people different ways, maybe depending. For me, I don't really think that I caught the fleas as much as I just was so shut down. So I felt like I was a totally different person everywhere else. And then with him, absolutely shut down. So it was making me almost feel like, that's why those are some of the reasons people will say, am I the narcissist? And you're not. Once you start healing and once you get away, or you start at least emotionally distancing yourself, you will start to come back to yourself. But it can take time, and a lot of people do worry about that. I mean, Lee, you talk to tons of people. Have you had that question too?
The Narcissistic Fleas?
Mm-hmm.
No, I've never had that question. I was going to ask that question. That was one of my questions, because like I tell people all the time, like I'm still. The funny thing about this is, because I'm still big. I have 1 million followers. The funny thing about it is, when I first started my TikTok account last year, I had no idea narcissistic abuse was even a thing. I swear to God, I didn't. I started my TikTok account with the goal of just raising awareness for narcissistic personality disorder as a whole. And trying to get. And my focus was to just get more men into therapy. That was always my focus right there. I was just like, and you go back to my first video, and that's what I say. I was just like, hey, look, my name is Damon Hammock. This is what I'm here for. I have narcissistic personality disorder. My goal is to raise awareness for this and get more men into therapy, and just try to lower the stigma on the stigma that therapy is a bad thing. I wasn't even focused on the narcissistic personality disorder. I was just literally focused on the therapy. And then I got some comments that you like, it was like. And people were just like, oh my goodness, thank you so much for being open. And then you get the whole opposite spectrum. They was I'll go back to my very first video. People were, it's so funny. And people were like tagging, what does it matter?
Oh. You almost got in trouble.
I'm looking at it now. I was like, I scrolled back to it the other day. I was just like, they were tagging like, what does it matter? And One Mama's Battle. They were tagging a bunch of different people that I follow now that I'm cool with now. I was just like, I just remember people tagging it. I was like, they were trying to get me caught up. I was like, yeah, y'all were not looking out for me. Y'all were trying to get me stuck. Y'all were trying to get me banned immediately because
That's funny.
every time I went live, my live would get like mass reported. It was like people. I had that notification. It was like somebody is worried about you, and it would just be my inbox would be full of those. Like someone is worried about you. Someone is worried about you. Someone is worried about you. Like people just reporting it for like mental health issues or survive or something. I was like, what is this? I like, what is this thing? Like, why y'all reporting my life for what? You know, it was like, and because I didn't know the narcissistic people were like, you're dangerous and this is that you're giving people hope. I was like, hope for what? Therapy?
Mm-hmm.
I was going back at people too. I was mad at people. I was like, hope for what? For therapy? You know, I was like, that's the hope I want to give. And then I started learning more, you know, and taking a step back and just taking it. And I just realized it's like I'm learning right now. You know what I mean? I'm just learning. I'm still learning now. To help people.
So somebody,
Heather, I was going to ask you with
sure.
when you were talking about narcissistic fleas and like you said you didn't seem to catch that at all. Do you feel like whenever you were in that relationship that you ended up having some like reactive abuse at all?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty tough to crack on that because I was raised this way. So, you know, initially I would be like, oh my God, you know, I'm just trying to love you and trying to communicate with you and blah, blah. And then, but I remember the very first thing, that he like really blew up, and it happened very quickly after we got married. Like when I look back now, there definitely were red flags that I know now that I would have just totally never seen this guy again after the first or second date. But like one of the very first times I said something like, can you have your son pick up his stuff before they go to bed after we, you know, get them from whatever event we had to go to. And it's just because his son had stuff all over the room. And I was just like, can you have him pick this up? And he went into this enormous rage. And he ended it with saying, at least I'm not so effed up that I don't talk to my parents. And like the reason that none of my siblings and I talk to our parents is because they're dangerous people. We had to protect all of our kids from them. We haven't talked to them in 20 years. But that was the response I got for just saying like, hey, can you have your kid pick up the stuff like before they go to bed? And that was when he was, oh yeah. And I mean, I was so shocked, but part of me was like, oh man, you are in another bad situation. So I started to try to make it okay and make it better. And it was cyclical, right? So at first it was every 3 or 4 months. And then it started to be like monthly. And that's, you know, I did a video the other day, but like how throwing divorce in my face all the time was like his go-to. And I was still trying to follow all the traditional psychology advice of like, it takes two, and if you can just communicate healthily and all that. And I realized, and we had a different therapist at the time, she separated us from couples therapy because of his anger issues. And so she was basically like she couldn't tell me, but like she was like, we need to work on you getting stronger and putting up boundaries. So I feel like sometimes, like when I look back, maybe other people, this might resonate, but I feel like I was lying to myself in order to stay in the marriage, like not acknowledging that I'm a person who has just as much value as everyone else in this relationship and in this blended family. And I don't know. So the fleas came with me sort of matching his energy, I guess. But like getting me to reactive abuse, it did happen a few times, but I have recordings of all of it. But even when like my reactive abuse was like, you know, I can't believe you're doing this to me. I can't believe you would say something like this to me. What is wrong with you? But it was never like the stuff he said to me regularly, you know?
Right.
But the feeling of it is like, I would just be shaking, like just from it, you know, because there's a lot of fear involved when you're reacting that way too, because you're scared, you know, because of how they're coming at you.
Y'all still hear me?
Sorry, I'm just...
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you hear me, Heather? Can you still hear me too? Okay, I'm
Yep.
sure. Okay. All right, cool. I'm sorry about that. Somebody was asking.
While she was talking, I was trying to like respond to like
that's
random questions popping up.
I'm doing the same thing. So, if y'all say, I don't know if
I got to get this
you
on the
Ben
computer.
Taylor. His name is what's your username, Ben? Is Ben Taylor?
Ben Taylor 300.
Ben Taylor 300, just like it sounds. BENTAYLOR. Somebody just put it in there. He's commenting in the chat, y'all. I don't know why it doesn't have your names up there. It won't let people click on there. Well, it does.
I don't know why. It's weird.
I know.
It's weird.
I hope
It's
they
like going
change
in
that.
and out for me.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
I've
not
almost
sure
like wanted like
either,
cancel and reconnect.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain why it does that either. But like, Heather, if you want to put a comment in there too, so they can see your username as well, I think that'll help too.
I think if we both commented and then you could like pin the comments.
Can you pin a comment on here?
I think you can because it's your live.
Oh, it's nice. Hold on. Mute, block.
Hopefully they'll fix that. So it'll be like the other.
Something.
Yeah, it won't let it won't let me pop up, but it's all good. Admin settings. I'm trying to put it on here. Yeah, see, they're commenting their usernames in there. Just comment in there because they won't let me pin it. I'm clicking on it right now. It's like translate. It allows me to translate it to something else.
It's weird.
But yeah, it is.
So
we're still
can I
learning
just
this process.
Somebody way earlier, because you're right, your feed is just like a ticker. It's just, but I saw
like
somebody say, yeah, it is. I saw somebody ask or say that it's a little triggering to hear you two talk because they think that it looks like you're trying to get supply. So if I could just say on my side, as somebody who's a survivor, the reason I like Ben and Lee is because what they are doing is trying to help people. And that is their goal. And if y'all get supply out of that, I don't think it's that different than intrinsic rewards because everything I do here is free as well. My whole thing with people is if they're doing something that's having an impact and is helping, you're good in my book, So that's where I'm coming from here. But I don't know if you guys have input on that.
So this is my thing on the whole supply thing because I see that a lot. Like that's one of the main comments I get, like the main derogatory comments because people come at me like this, like you just doing this for supply. I'm like, what? Like so the likes and the comments that kind of doesn't mean anything. That kind of comes and goes. You know what I mean? I get like I don't necessarily need this TikTok in general for. Like likes and comments. I have my other TikTok. I get millions of views over there. When I concentrate on that TikTok, I get millions of views over there. I go viral on that account. So I don't really necessarily need this quote unquote supply because in my mind, I know it'll never be enough. So the only thing, what I've learned in therapy is to just kind of take everything as it comes. Because the negative comments really get on my damn nerves. I don't lie to you. I want to respond negatively to people all the time and attack people. I was just like, you know what? But my therapist said you kind of have to view everything on an even plateau, even the good stuff. Like the good stuff comes, the bad stuff comes. You have to like look at it on an even plateau, and just realize that no matter what, no matter how many views and comments you get, like it'll never be enough. You know what I mean? So I'm okay with that. Like I hit 1 million followers the other day, and I was just like, yay! What's next? I was just like, it's literally it's fleeting. It's like immediately fleeting. I was just like,
yeah.
I like, whoa! I got 1 million followers. My wife was happy. She's like, yeah, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah, it is. What's next? Why don't I have 2 million?
Yeah, it's kind of like the narcs like excitement is like for like a couple seconds versus like someone else to be like for a whole day. I'm just like, okay, like next, like moving on.
And see, that's
it's very quick.
And that's the one thing I tell people that like it's just like it's never enough. No matter how many goals I hit, no matter what I hit, I understand that I have to. That's the main thing I feel like. Another thing that therapy has helped me with, they realize it'll never be enough. So do I feel good when helping people? The main supply I do get is when people's like, hey, Lee Hammond, you changed my life. When that little trend came out, was like, Mama told me. I was like, people would just shout me out. I was like, I love that. You know what I mean? That's my supply. I feel good with that. I was like, yay, I change people. I want to be a world changer. You know what I mean? So changing one person's life and changing another people's lives, like that's world changing. So like a little like here, a little comment there, cool. You know what I mean? Because people always ask me like, can narcissists be happy? And I was like, yeah, I can be happy, but I think it's joy that escapes me because like the speaker Simon Sinek said he said the difference between happiness and joy. He said happiness is in the moment, joy is like contentment, joy is everlasting, joy is long lasting. So I can be happy. I can be happy in the moment. Like, yay, that's cool. 1 million followers. Yay, like Am I going to be forever content with 1 million followers? No. You know, give me 2, give me 3, give me 100. You know what I mean? Why don't I have 100 million? You know, just like that's how my mind works. I'm just like on to the next one. But I just understand
I
that
think for
Is
me
it?
that definitely is true too, as far as like wanting that excitement and not getting that joy, And I think for me, one of the things I've been going through and really trying to like look into is like a lot of times the reason I'm not tapping into that joy is I'm not focusing on the gratitude. I'm not focused on the gratitude of where I am,
yep.
who I am, where I am going, things like that. And like that's something that, like I'll sit down and be like, okay, like I need to with my warrior stuff, I'll be like, okay, I need to do a gratitude stack, like where I actually go through and I'm thankful for something or someone. And I sit there and I'm like, I know I have something, but like what? You know, it's awful. Like I shouldn't struggle with that. But I think sometimes that's the baseline of joy, is finding that gratitude in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting because I'm the exact opposite. Like I experience the joy. You know what I mean? Like the happiness hits and then there's like joy. And I think I'm so glad that you guys are talking about this because I think that that's helpful to a lot of people. So is it okay if I answer? Somebody just asked me about if I've ever experienced flying
Yeah.
monkeys.
Shoot.
Okay. Not very many, but there was one who was an older, I mean, I don't mean to say older, but older than me, woman who is part of a couple who were supposedly really good friends of the narcissistic ex, but like only saw them very infrequently, once or twice a year, 3 times a year, something like that. And I remember him telling me that at a certain point, getting toward the end, so this is where I started to figure out that the smear campaign had been going on for a long time with me, that she was his, what did he call her? Like, oh shoot, it just left my head. Um, like his ace in the hole, I think is what he called her, because she worked at the court. But I mean, she's like, not to put anybody down, but in his mind, it felt like he thought she was equal to a judge or something. She literally just was a file clerk. But I remember him saying that they showed up at his previous divorce with his previous ex and with his parents. And I thought that was like weird. Like, why are you bringing people to your, like, just get freaking divorced. I don't get this. And he said, well, he knows that she's absolutely loyal to him. And this woman, the minute that I filed the PPO, she was making all kinds of fake accounts, but with her own name, which was bizarre. And I was getting all these messages on Instagram and Facebook, and she was taking these other accounts and trying to, so my Facebook is shut down, so only my friends can comment, but if I'm on my public posts, but she would be putting angry faces on pictures of me and my daughter and stuff like that. And my daughter has anxiety, right? So I was afraid that she was going to start seeing this stuff and that she was going to try to harass her. And I had my attorney say this needs to stop. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I screenshot all the stuff, right? Even to the point of her dead dog's old Facebook.
What?
I'm not even kidding. Was messaging me from that. Yeah. So, it's a weird situation because now when I look back on it and I think about her husband was always super nervous anytime we were out. And now I'm starting to be like, because this is like going way beyond, right?
Yes.
So finally I said, because in my area, I'm friends with our county director, I'm friends with our mayor, I'm friends with a bunch of city council people, a bunch of people that work at the county, just because of the nature of my old job. So I said, I am going to take every single one of these screenshots. I'm going to post them publicly, and I'm going to tag every single one of these influencers, including judges in our county, if this doesn't stop. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about, and blah, blah, blah. This is after the PPO expired, and but it stopped. But yeah.
It just magically stopped.
100%
That's
just
something to hold
stopped.
over them.
Yeah. It's just magically
That's
stopped.
crazy. Yeah, whenever you're talking about flying monkeys, I don't have an exact example for myself personally, but I know another narcissist who was involved with another married woman, and he had a flying monkey alongside of him that actually helped him take the married woman that he was cheating with to the courthouse. And they were actually trying to get her to go in to be able to file like a restraining order on her own husband to get her out of that relationship. And they were like pressuring her so much that she like passed out. And so they like woke her up and they're like, okay, let's go again. And they're like trying to get her into the courthouse to like make this stuff happen, like the narcissist and like the flying monkey with him. And it's just insane. Like the lady passed out like twice or three times, and then they finally stopped. But they were like literally like pressuring and trying to push her into getting that divorce and restraining order with her husband, who wasn't doing anything at that point. But that was just the narcissist and the flying monkey like brainwashing everything.
So I just had a thought. So when I'm talking with you guys about this stuff, and I know like a lot of my peeps in my community and my followers, like we all totally understand each other. And it's like, you know, yeah, this happened to me, you know, and we've had to come up with all these strategies and we try to help people exit. But it seems like you two are much more like immediately logical about this. Like, hell no. I'm not allowing this. And you would never allow somebody to do this type of thing to you, right? Like it comes from the other side of, if you had, I don't know, somebody trying to stalk you or say nasty things to you or whatever, you would just block them, right? Like you don't even think twice about it. So how does it work in your head?
Take it right to them.
Like,
like you don't hold stuff over me. Like if you want to hold stuff over me, like we're going live and we're going to just put it all out there. Like you don't blackmail me. You don't hold stuff over me. Like if you want to come after me, like bring it, you know?
Yeah, I would say that depending on who it is, that's when how I will react accordingly. You know what I mean? And just speaking from like perspective, like I've also dated another narcissist as well, and it's like the most toxic thing possible, and it's very triggering to me. So not only am I except for a narcissist, I am also a survivor. No, you know, but like
but you've experienced,
that's why a lot of stuff I tell people think I'm just talking just generally. Because I've been on the other side of it. Now that I can look back at my life, I'm like, this damn girl was a narcissist. Like, Jesus. Like, it was mega toxic. I can't talk straight. She just angers me, you know. But, you know, if I can trigger you, I can control you. And the crazy thing about it is, like, I'm a real estate agent. I went into my office the other day, and I've rarely ever gone to my office. So I went to my office the other day, and the new receptionist looks just like the ex was narcissist. I thought it was her. My heart stopped. I was like, and I immediately got angry. I was like, you followed me here? You know, I just put it over. I was like, it wasn't her. I was like, how you doing? She was like, hey. I was like, oh, it's not her. I was like, hey, how you doing? She's like, mask back on. I was like, okay, back to work.
Do you feel like when you were in that narcissistic relationship that you were trauma bonded to her?
Oh yeah, I do. I really do. So I'm writing my book now. There's a part in there about how I broke my trauma bond,
right.
And like the only way, you know, because I was mad at her for years, y'all. This is like years. So the only way I felt like I got over the trauma bond is when I got to the point of my life when I realized I was more than what she deserved. You know, I was like, I'm better than anybody she's ever going to get. Better than whatever she's going to do in her life with whoever she's going to do it. Like I'm the, you know, this narcissist. That's the narcissism kicking in too, though. You know, I'm just like, I'm the top tip, and I'm going to prove it. And it angered me to change my life to get to the point where I'm at right now. Like furious. I've been furious for like 10 years. You know, so just angry. Like, I'm gonna build a good family. I'm gonna get a good job, and I'm gonna work out. And you're gonna miss me. You're gonna be angry when you see me on TV. You know, that's like I just went hard at my life. And when I found out that her, like the husband or whatever she ended up discarding me for, and I found out what he was doing with his life, I'm like way past him. It was just like when you running a race, you look back, you can't see the person. Like, man, I'm gonna slow down a little bit. You know, I was like, what was I doing?
So it was like a catalyst for you.
Yeah. I let anger motivate me. It pisses me off in the moment. It hurts in the moment, but it like that anger transitions to ambition and motivation. I was just like, well, you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you by being better than what you deserve. I'm just going to elevate myself. And I'm not telling anybody on my live to do this because this does not work for you. It just works for me because I'm just like, you know, it's like, you know, if you watch the Hulk, whenever the Hulk can transform on his own now, like he used to only transform when he got mad. But like now he can transform when he wants to. Like Hulk, how can you transform now without getting mad? He's like, oh, I'm always angry. And that's how I've been living my life. I just like, I'm always angry. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good idea for a video. That's a really good explanation where it's not that something has to make you angry. You can
Yeah.
make it happen, right? Like,
It's just reframing it to a way that makes it better for me. It benefits me. It doesn't destroy me. It benefits me. And like somebody said, I was live on Instagram earlier. And somebody's like, why does no contact feel like running away? I was like, when you say it like that, you give the other person the power. Or like, why not say you're running towards something? Like, because if running away and running towards something is totally different. Running towards something gives you the power. Running away from something gives the person behind you the power. Because if you're running away from something, you're gonna turn back and see how far you are. You're like, oh, it's still chasing me. You mean if you're running towards something, you're gonna get to the finish line. It's like running a race. You're not gonna look. You're not gonna look left or right to your competitors. You're running towards the finish line. So run towards the finish line and don't look back. You know what I mean? If you look back, that's when you get caught. People catch when you look back. You slow down when you look back. You look back.
Yeah,
your body goes. Your body goes to where your eyes focus at. So you looking over here, your body's gonna just inherently slow down. So you're not running away.
Or you're going to trip and fall, right? Yep. You're going to trip and fall and lose your progress.
They're going to dive on you then. There's a narcissist monster on top of you.
Well, the narcissist is waiting for you to look back so they can prove that you still want them.
Yeah.
Right. That's why we're always talking about like blocking and focusing on yourself and, going and getting, it's not that different where you're like, get your dreams, baby, all that when you do those videos, but it's very similar. It's so cute, but it's very similar for survivors, I think, as far as the not looking back part, right? Like just move forward for once, focus on yourself. So there are some parallels here I think are important.
Yeah, and that's why I tell people though, when she because on that live, because my journey is like, I feel like that's why I say it's like I'm supposed to be doing this. You know what I mean? I tell these people all the time I'm supposed to be doing this because even before therapy, even before the diagnosis, I was always I did a whole bunch of network marketing companies. I was doing Amway Global and I was doing World Ventures and all that other stuff. But I'm glad I did those companies because those companies preach like personal development, being better, reading books. So I started reading books. Like, I wasn't gaining much from them, but I started reading books and I started watching YouTube videos by Tony Robbins and, Les Brown and stuff like that. So I was all into those books and I was always progressing my mind anyway. So, and I was always on the mindset, like, you can't tell me what I can't do. So when I heard about narcissistic personality disorder and like, this is the end for you, it's not like when you get diagnosed and you find out you're a narcissist, it's not like you get on Google and like, the first thing you pop up is like, congratulations, Damon, you're a narcissist. I'm like, yes, it's defeating. It's defeating. It's like, well, if you have narcissistic personality disorder, the number one thing you can pretty much do is go die by yourself because you're a terror to the planet. I was like, what? And you see that stuff on there, you see that stuff online, and it's just like, I'm already in the mindset of people not being able to tell me what I can and can't do. So I'm just like, I'm going to progress forward. I was in those self-aware narcissist groups where people will people will come into those groups and, the first thing out of those people's mouths it's always like sadness. It was always despair. It was always like, they'll join those groups and be like, oh my God, I just got diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. My life is over. And the one that I always remember is a person that came in there. It was a private page. It's a fake page. They just made a page to join the group. And they were like, they was like, sorry guys, I know, I had to create this fake page because if my boss finds out I'm a narcissist, I'll get fired. I was like, what? You get fired from your job for being a narcissist? Like, damn. I was like, really? It's like that? Wow. Okay. So in my mind, I was like, no. So I literally started talking about this back in 2018 in my own personal Facebook page. And I was talking about, like, hey guys, I have narcissistic personality disorder. This is who I am. And I was like, I kind of like threw the grenade in the room and closed the door and let it explode. I put the status up there and I came back to it later and people commented. I was like, oh my God, hey, I never knew. Like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, cool. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, that's actually exciting that people accept. People was like, I would never guess. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't change how we feel about you. It's just disorder. I'm like, yay. So I just kind of started my little podcast and stuff like that, started talking about it. But then, like I said, because I was on this self-betterment journey already, I was listening to like Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever, Tony Robbins. And Gary V was like, I had my little eBay shop. I do reselling on eBay. So I started doing reselling on eBay a couple of years ago because of Gary Vee. And he was just like, he sells on eBay. So I started my eBay store and I started being successful on eBay. I'm like, cool. I always watch his videos. And he's like, you guys know what's coming up next? The new wave is TikTok. Get on TikTok. Put your stuff on TikTok. And I was like, TikTok? I'm like, I can't dance. You know, I'm like, well,
Isn't that for kids?
yeah, I'm like, my wife was on watching funny videos and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm gonna go there and dance. You know, I'm like, gyrate. I'm like, that's not me. You know what I mean? So, but he's like, it's not for kids. And he's kind of like answering the question like immediately. Let me stop you right there. I know what you're thinking. It's not for kids. It's for adults too. It's like there's a big section for adults. You do this and they're like, if you want to go viral, if you want to do this, put your stuff on TikTok. So I was like, okay. I was still scared to talk mental health on TikTok. So I started my other TikTok first, just the comedy and doing stuff like that. And then a few months in, I was like, okay, let me separate it. I threw the mental illness grenade and went back to my other page. I'm like, I'm gonna just let that simmer for a little bit. I just kind of threw it in the room and like, I'm gonna go to my other page and hide, you know.
Right.
So with what you guys are talking about, I always, whenever Ben and I've been on live, and you know, this is a wonderful opportunity. When somebody is asking, is there hope for my narcissistic ex? Can he get help and change his ways? So I know that the one I was with went to 4 or 5 different therapists. I think to say he was in therapy to try to make it work, because I think he sensed that I think he knew from the beginning that I would end up leaving him, right? He used every therapist to manipulate them. I know that he was diagnosed with the first therapist that we were with. So there was a diagnosis. I'm pretty sure that every time he sensed a diagnosis coming or was given another one, he left therapy. So altogether, he can say like, oh, I did extensive therapy, but really he did about 6 to 8 sessions with each therapist. If he even went, he canceled on them all the time, no respect for their time. And then left each one of them. And about 2 weeks before he left every therapist, he was bashing them. You know, this one shouldn't be doing blah, blah, whatever. He was bashing.
Yeah.
You have to really, anybody who is in therapy, regardless of why you're there, you have to be committed to it.
Yeah.
And they can pretend to be. So do you guys have thoughts on that? Because you all are the exception to absolutely the exception to the rule. So, you know, I would generally say no, there's no hope.
Let me preface this by saying I like being the exception. So there's just the narcissist kicking in. Like, I like being the exception to the rule, you know. But I always ask this question right here: like, is your significant other willing to go to therapy for the rest of their life, in some capacity? And if you can barely get them to go to one session, you know,
it ain't happening.
It ain't gonna happen. Like me personally, I'm going to be in therapy for the rest of my life, and I'm okay with that. And it is for me. Like, my wife can come knock on the door, like, "Hey, honey, I'm leaving you now. I'm taking the kids." I'm like, damn, well, I got something else to tell my therapist now. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna still go to therapy.
I love that.
I'm gonna still go to therapy because it's for me. It just helps me live a better existence overall. Not just for them. It's for me. You know, it helps me process my own thoughts. Helps me process my own, my own life in general. So I'm going to be in therapy for the rest of my life. And I ask people that when I'm doing my one-on-ones, I'm like, is this person willing to go to therapy once? They're like, maybe once. Or like 5 times for the rest of their life. It's for life.
Yep.
I'm like, if they are a real narcissist, they will have to go to therapy for the rest of their life. Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm cool. Like, for me, I'm cool with it because it makes me this self-aware narcissist. I get to go to therapy and get more info to make myself better, and come out here and transform that info into digestible pieces for y'all. Y'all can hear what I learned in therapy. And some people come out here and they're like, he's just regurgitating what he learned in therapy. Like, if that was true, my therapist would just get on here and say the same thing I say. You know, like, hey, therapist, take over. You know. Take over.
So, I know that Ben, and I think 2 of our lives that Ben and I did, that he mentioned how he looks forward to therapy, even if, right? Like, even if you're like, oh, you're tired or whatever, you look forward to it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I do too. I look forward to it now because I remember like, so this is how my life goes though, because like I've been in therapy for 4 years. I think people get my story a little mixed up because they think my wife only left once, but she left a few times. You know, the one time she left back in 2016, 2017 is when she called me a narcissist. That's when it all got started. But I got in therapy of October of 2017. I've been in therapy since then, and she left again in April of 2020, so last year. You know, so I think people kind of get the story mixed up. But she left last year. You know, and because and I know why she left too, because I missed, you know, my therapy appointments. I missed December. I went back and looked at my receipts. I missed December. I missed January. I missed February. I missed March, and I missed April. And she left in April. So, you know, because like when I don't go, it elevates.
It comes back.
It turns into something it doesn't need to be. You know, so I like when I get back in there. I remember my wife left me. I was just like, I was, you know, I don't think how furious I was. I was so damn mad. I was like, I wasn't mad at her. I was mad at myself because I knew I had let her did it. I knew I did it again, and I knew she was unhappy. I could sense that she was unhappy. I just couldn't do anything about it. My mind would literally just not let me talk to her. I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to do everything I needed to do, but I just could not really. I could not reach out and touch her. I just couldn't. I couldn't. I just wanted to. I see her in the kitchen, unhappy, with her head dragged down. I was like, I just need to give her a hug right now. And my body was just like, you can do it later. You know, it was always, you can do it later. You can do it later. You can do it later. And I came back later. She was gone. I was like, and I was just like, and I told myself, and I knew it was my fault. I was angry, and I wanted to come home and do the whole punch the holes in the wall and the craziness. But like, what did that solve? You know, I'm a real estate agent. I don't have to fix it myself and sell the house. I'm just like, it make my house harder to sell. I'm like, this is stupid. You know. So what I did, I didn't talk to her. You know, I was like, I know what it is. I emailed my therapist. I was like, look, when your next appointment, I need to come in there. And I talked to her. She's like, hey, you know, she don't know me by Lee. She don't know my first name. She called me Damon. She's like, so we was like, hey, so what's been going on? I was like, well, my wife left me. She didn't seem surprised. She was like, oh. How's it make you feel?
Of course she did.
I was like,
right?
Yeah.
Like,
and she's like, of course. I haven't seen you in 5 months. Of course, I know your patterns. I know your patterns. Like, I know you're gonna go. You know, you're gonna go into a different path. You know what I mean? You were going to go down a different path. And I was just like, yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. We covered that. Now tell me how to get her back. And she was like, you can't get her back. I was like, you motherfucker. That's what I love about therapists though. She gotta. You have to keep it real with narcissists. You have to keep it real. You can't sugarcoat.
That's what Ben said too. Yeah.
You can't dance around the point. You got to go straight to the point. So you can't get her back.
Yeah. So Lee, with my narcissist, so like I go to a counseling like center. And with my therapist there, so I go to her. My wife goes to the same group.
Ben, I want to interrupt you, but I was like, y'all saw me in your live for a little bit. I was in your live for a very long time last week. I just wasn't saying anything. I was just listening. I was just right here doing my YouTube. I was just listening.
Yeah.
Like, I remember you said I was hearing you talk about how you were going to therapy and like the narcissist was in there. Y'all wasn't seeing the same therapist with the same center. I was just like.
Yeah, we were going to the same center. Like multiple people were going to the same center, and my counselor, my therapist, like looked at me and she was like, we don't have enough therapists to be able to handle all your affair partners, right? And I was like, okay, moving on. But
maybe there's a problem here.
She cuts it straight with me, that's for sure. It's pretty hilarious.
But that's how you have to do it, though. She legit looked at me and she's like, you can't get her back. She told me, she's like, you don't deserve her back. She legit told me. I was like,
right.
Dang. I was like, okay. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot of fiber here, you know.
So someone is asking, can you recognize a narcissistic person? I will tell you that I know pretty quickly if it's a narcissistic man. I learned, I mean, I've been with my partner for a year. We have a really awesome, healthy relationship. But prior to that, I could just tell you red flags to look out for. If they call you sexy, beautiful, anything like that, if they say they're smitten with you, that they could see themselves with you, they tell you they love you in a week or two. It's all about your looks. It's all about, they might say stuff like, you're the most amazing person I've ever met. You're like, I've only known you online for like a week. You know, like with my partner, the only time he ever said anything about my looks was one time he said, I'm looking forward to going out with a cute woman because we had set up a date already. Like we had been talking for weeks and nothing came up. He wanted to get to know me. In the workplace, I think it shows with people who are really lacking in empathy, who are more focused on themselves than the team. There's definitely things you can look for. I also know that for a lot of us who are survivors, if it feels like this fluttery sort of recognition feeling, that can be a huge red flag because for us, for many of us, what feels like home is not safe. And so that's like a warning sign, you know. So that's a few things that I can say there. Lee, your ticker, this is just moving so fast, it's literally impossible to see anybody.
I tried to warn you, but you can't.
I know. I'm sorry, y'all. We're trying really hard to catch some of your comments.
Yeah.
This is really fast.
But this is what I tell
option
people.
For like the question mark
today.
I know it's missing.
This is a warning sign, though. Find a way to say no to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like how somebody reacts to a no will tell you more about somebody than a yes. You know, saying no to somebody will teach you more about them than saying yes to somebody. It just will. No. You know,
oh my God.
Like a 2-year-old, then you have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah. No.
You know what? You're so right about that because, and I think I did a video sort of touching on that recently, but you'll notice after you get out of, you know, these relationships, and you guys have both been in them too, but like once you find your self-worth and your value and you like put yourself first in a healthy way, when you start establishing boundaries, even with people who've been in your life for years, and you do say no, or you say, I can't help you with that, or I'm sorry, you're responsible for your own actions, and they go off on you for that, they need to be out of your life. It's amazing. I've had 3 of those people, and only 3 in the last year and a half. And once I stepped back, I realized like, wow, these people were only coming to me when they needed me. They were only coming when something was wrong with them and they needed me to drop everything to be there for them. And what I noticed is that once they were out of my life, it was much more peaceful.
Yep.
Like every single one of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it goes, though. I was going to say, when you say no to people, they just react negatively. They appreciate the hearts. They just react negatively to you saying no. It's a huge mosquito in here. Like I've been reading the Quran here lately, so I'm trying not to murder insects, but don't bite me. You know what I mean? But like I said, I just like saying no to somebody. When people say no to me, I'm like, I don't like. So first of all, I don't like hearing the word no. I don't like people telling me no. I just don't like it. So I have the problem of not being able to say no to people as well. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to say no to people. So I've told people that when I'm talking to them on one-on-ones and stuff like that. Like sometimes it's hard for me to say no to people. So sometimes my narcissist he just couldn't say no to it. I just tell him, I was like, look, like he cheated on me because he couldn't say no. I'm like, look, I've been in a situation before years and years ago where you come from a different spot in life, like where you used to people rejecting you and saying no to you constantly. When people give you attention, it's hard to deny that attention. Even if you don't like those people, if you're not attracted to that person, you might end up sleeping with them because they gave you some attention. They're like, I'm not even attracted to you, but like, you make me feel good about myself. So and you just can't say no. You didn't mean to do it. You just kind of, just fell into it. Like, like you think I'm cute? Thanks. It goes from that. Like it's something as little as that. Back in the day when I was younger, it was just like, what was I doing?
So it's the external. It's the external validation.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I say, I don't like hearing the word no to me, so I don't like saying the word no to people sometimes. Unless I'm being like, doing the mosquito is tempting it. He's tempting. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because I don't like saying no to people like in my like friend group and like outside of like work, but like at work I wouldn't care. I'd be like, heck no, like, you're not doing that or whatever.
Situationally, yeah, I get that right there, yeah. But like in romantic stuff like that, like in the club or bar drunk back in the day, then I'm just like me, and I just couldn't say no. Are you an alcoholic? No, I'm not an alcoholic, y'all. But don't a lot of narcissists say that I'm not an alcoholic? I just drink a lot, I don't have a problem. Yeah,
a lot of them a lot of narcissists have multiple, like the ex that I was with, he was addicted to corn, and also alcohol, weed, smoker. I know, because I got in trouble that one time. Just gambling, spending, like multiple addictions. It was terrible, honestly. Um,
I feel like on some
some
level, like all narcissists struggle with some form of addiction.
Yeah. See, that's right there. So somebody said corn. Replace that C with a P. You get what she mean. So corn, like replace the C with a P. Is it's
Confused
PC.
a lot of
It's
people there.
PC talking with a P.
yeah.
You know what I mean? A corno. He like watching cornos. You know what I mean? She would walk in on watching a good old corno with his pants off. You know, just think about it like that. You know what I mean?
And that happened.
Yeah.
And that happened.
So you see, but the situation.
Love that corn.
I was gonna say on the cob. He loved that corn. I was like, a corn like on the cob or the sweet corn, the canned corn, the sweet corn. Corn. Somebody said corn. Corno. Sorry, I got off topic there. Yeah, so.
Stop! You're gonna make me start laughing too hard.
Anyways, going back to that topic, like, yeah, I think a lot of narcissists struggle with some type of addiction, no matter what it is. I think there's at least some type of addiction that they either struggle with or some type of like addictive nature that, they struggle with. Like I've struggled with like multiple different things before in my past that I know are addictive. And I also know my personality as a whole is addictive. So there's certain things I won't even let myself get into because I know if I dive into it, I'm not coming back.
Oh God, you sound just like me with certain hard bugs. I was just like, they're like, have you tried it? I'm like, no, I have very, very addictive personality. If I do it, I'm not. I know what will happen to me, so I don't want to do that. So, but my addiction, my addiction for a long time has been people. I'm addicted to people. I like learning how people, think and what makes them tick. You know what I mean? I don't know if y'all ever seen the old TV show Heroes. It was an awesome TV show. But there's this character on Heroes where he would like dissect people. He would cut people's heads off and study their brains and see what made them tick. His name was like Siler, and I'm like, that's me. I want to see what makes people tick.
My God, I think I did see it. Was it like a series?
Yeah, it was a series. It was a TV series.
Okay.
It fell off after the first season. Prison Wife. Tracy, what's going on, lady? How you doing? But yeah, see, people say Heroes. I haven't heard this show in a long time. But it was on the path of being a great show. But like people, my addiction is people. I like know what makes people tick. I like learning about the personality disorder. You know what I mean? I like doing. I know. I like studying people. What makes me tick.
So I've got a question. How come you guys like each other? Because a lot of times narcissists that recognize each other, maybe the covert ones, or they don't like each other, or they'll put up with each other. But you two like each other. Like, is there anything to that, or is that not true?
I thought it might be the self-awareness thing. Like, the unaware narcissist probably getting your nerves. Like, what? You are fucking weird, man. You know what I mean? It's just like
I think it's kind of self-awareness because I think we're self-aware enough not to, lack of better words, I think not to step on each other's toes.
Yeah.
We know if we do, like that'll piss each other off really easily. Being a narcissist, we already know like what could push each other the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I feel like we get along great.
Yeah, and I also like people who understand the mindset as well. You know, it's like good and hey, like listen to people who think like me sometimes. You know, it's just like cool. You know what I mean? Because like I was in those self-aware narcissist groups. Some of those people are like. I also say this: is some people in those self-aware narcissist groups are not good people. That's why like they're just not. They take their diagnosis and continue being bad people. They're like, well, I'm a narcissist. What more do you expect from me?
Yeah,
this is who I am. And I tell people, and they are narcissists. They are in therapy and they are actively choosing to continue to be who they are. And I was like, then that like in therapy doesn't change everybody for the better. So how do I get into therapy?
Right.
What happens if you get into therapy? You know what I mean? And what happens if you get into therapy and then you go in there and they don't like listen to you and they come home and it's like, hey, well, you know what? Hey, babe, look, I had a great therapy session today. Are you sitting down? Let's go ahead and sit down. The therapist said that you were the narcissist, and I'm perfect.
Oh, yeah. So no, so I have a little story about that. The day that he got diagnosed, came home, and I was just like, I don't know, washing a glass or something, and he starts screaming at me, and he's like, I don't have a personality disorder, you do. And I'm like, what? And he's just screamed, like there was nothing. He literally just walked in the door with it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, my diagnosis is PTSD and anxiety. And he's like, well, you're the one who has you're the one disordered. And he's screaming and pointing at me. And I was like, oh, someone got diagnosed today. Right? Like that's what happens. So, but I wondered if you guys had any feedback on this. I mean, I know what I know, but I wonder how comorbid sociopathy and narcissism are. I mean, it goes a lot further than.
Yeah, I'm a little lost on that one right there because I don't, So I do have just because I did a podcast a while ago and somebody asked me, she was like, "Are you honest with anybody? Are you completely 100% honest with anybody in your life?" I was like, actually no. And she was like, "Not even your therapist?" Like, she got me. I was like, ugh. So okay, cool. I was like, yeah. I was like, all right, actually, I'm not. I was like, I made a promise. I'll go to my next therapy session. I'm going to be more open. And I went to therapy. As I was talking, I was more open. I felt good. I was like, and she was like, you know what, Damon? I think you have some sociopathic traits. I was like, damn, it got worse. I was like, okay, back to not being as honest anymore. Let me reel it in a little bit. I don't want to go further down the rabbit hole. So let me no. Let me reel it in just a bit, just a tad.
Well, I know.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. But it takes certain things to bring that side out of me because I owned this laundromat for a long time. I owned this laundromat for a year, and the laundromat was the people outside the laundromat was getting on my nerves so much. I started to hate people. I was like, ugh. I was just vent to her, and she was like, it sounds like you think those people are beneath you. I was like, are they not? She was like, I was like, what are you writing?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what are you writing? It's like, no, I'm not just taking notes. It's just like, stop writing. I don't want to see you writing stuff down. Like, okay, I'll calm down. I just be getting mad, man. Cause I don't hate people, but sometimes people get in your nerves. It's like, those people get in your nerves.
Well, I think. So just so you know, my friend, who is hilarious on here, she's a pretty new account. Well, I mean, she's been here for a few months. Trauma Recovery with Mimi. It looks like she's doing such a good job in the comments of trying to keep people engaged because they're moving so fast that we can't see them. If you want to make her a mod, she'd be a wonderful mod. Just an FYI.
I thought I followed her already. I saw her the other day.
She's hysterical. And she has really, really awesome advice. I mean, she knows her stuff. So with the sociopathic, I saw somebody real quick say that it's common, and you're right. I think the difference is the sociopaths plan things out. Like the ex I was with planned to get my phone while I was sleeping, change my little the little drawing I did, the password to get in, and locked my phone so I couldn't work. Or he would hide my keys, or he would, he would deliberately do things. He would plan things ahead of time in order to try to get at me. Like he stole all my toys because I wouldn't have with him because he was so abusive. So he convinced himself that it was because I was using them too often when I had zero desire for anything. And he planned to hide them on me and then would open my nightstand drawer waiting for me to find out that he did that. And I honestly didn't even know for 2 weeks. Like weird shit. Am I allowed to say shit here? Weird stuff like that. And it's worse than that. Like they'll slash your tire and tell you that to try to prevent you from going to work. Like I had a go bag in my trunk for a long time, and I actually had to use it twice before I could get out because of stuff like that. So they're very dangerous. It's different. I think it's a
sociopath is kind of like next level narcissism in one sense, where I feel like if you have a narcissist, it'd be like narcissistic, and the most unhealthy state starts dipping into that sociopath like realm. Because I think there's times where like people talk about sociopaths, or people talk about like sociopath tendencies, where I'm like, yeah, I can logically see how I would get there,
Yeah.
and like I wouldn't be bothered by it. But I think the biggest thing for me is like realizing and seeing that, and understanding like, okay, I know I don't want to get there. I know I need to make sure I'm preventing that. And I also need to like logically like think through my brain, like, hey, this is not a rabbit hole I'm going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like I said, when I started getting a little bit more honest, that's why you said that whole planning thing. I was telling my plans to do something to these people. She's like, well, this sounds a little sociopathic. And I was like, why? You know, that's because I was just being honest. But yeah, I do have to hop off here. I got a 1-on-1 at 10 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is so much fun, you guys. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Put your names in here so people can follow y'all. Make sure y'all look. I have to hop over here in like a minute. So y'all follow Ben Taylor 300 and Heather Coleman Voss. Just put a comment in here. I know trauma recovery Mimi knows your names. Hey Ruya, what's up?
Is Ruya here?
Yeah, she was in here for a second. But put your names in the comment section so people can follow y'all. Y'all follow them, check them out. They make very, very good content. And we'll do this again soon because I didn't realize you could do this. This is fun. Yeah. I'm normally on here drunk and babbling by myself, you know.
Awesome. Well,
yeah,
thanks,
we'll plan
guys.
another
Appreciate
one. This is really fun.
Yeah.
So thanks, everybody.
All right. Well, yeah, let's say Ben
See
Taylor
you.
300 and Heather Coleman Voss. Y'all follow them, check them out. We'll do this again next week and just keep it going. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.
All right, yeah. Right at 10 o'clock. Yeah, I gotta hit the road, y'all. Yeah, it was a very fun live. I truly appreciate y'all sticking through the end. Y'all make sure y'all follow Heather and Ben. I appreciate y'all coming in. Thank y'all. I gotta go. Peace.